Welcome to the short but sweet state of the Galaxies. Can you hear me? Mike, can you hear me? Mr. Sroka? He can't hear me. If he can hear me, he's not saying anything. Real Dragon. Wes Copeland. Wait, someone said yes. The DK3 champ. All right. This is I'm mostly here to answer questions that people might have. So get into the chat. There's Data God. Oh, God. And also, you can Skype in to talk to me and ask me questions directly. So it's only 30 minutes because there's, frankly, so much to do and so little time. And yeah. So, okay. Let me hit some top line items. I didn't have a chance to put together a PowerPoint or anything to kind of walk you through this, so I'm just going to sort of shoot from the hip. One thing is well, we got upload working. We can't find problems. I'm reading on the site, some people still have problems trying to upload, so you know we started a thread for people to post all the information they can if they run into an upload problem. There might be some problems using Internet Explorer 11. So, you know, we'd recommend using Google Chrome or Firefox or whatever, but it should be working. You should be able to upload things. Now, you get into an interesting situation where if you're trying to upload an enormous file and you don't have a fast connection, that the upload can take longer than what the Twin Galaxies website will allow you to sit idle doing nothing. And so it'll log you out and invalidate your upload. So that's sort of an interesting scenario, but that tends to be for people who are uploading like 38, 50 gigabytes and they have like a small, like a narrow band connection. So we're gonna have to figure that out. Will Jace be playing in the Pigger tournament? Jace will not be playing in any tournaments until Jace gets all the Twin Galaxies issues and matters and features finished. I already asked Jace why he isn't playing the Y Olympics. Basically, I just can't. There's no time. There's no time. I've got no time. I want to play. I've got no time. Okay, so you know, please use the upload function if you can. Most people should. I'm looking at adjudications that are coming in. Most people are successfully uploading, and it's all showing up, and that's good. Because we will preserve that video. And it's important that we preserve these videos for the future for people who like, because it's cool, you know. Hey, there's a record or a ranking. And also, I would like to encourage everybody to just submit. You don't have to have the world record. You don't even have to be like in the top 20. Just submit and get your performances into the system, because you're going to find, like, Twin Galaxies, the new era, has a lot of big things coming down the pike. And so you've got to understand that, you know, the first effort is just get it kind of up and running and doing what it sort of did before a little better. But there's been a lot of thought that's gone into the total comprehensive nature of this system. And you're only experiencing a small fraction of it, not the whole thing. So, and it was built for the whole thing, so there'll be some weird things, like, for instance, I'm sporting the Billy Conn look from Fatal Fury. I just need some overalls. Okay. I agree. Back to what I was saying, which is, so you look at something like the submission points, right? You're adjudicating and you're accumulating all these submission points, and you're like, my God, I have more submission points than I can handle. I'll never use all these submission points. Yes, you will. Trust me. Right now, the only thing that you can spend submission points on are, you know, submissions. But there is a whole litany of things that you will be able to spend and want to spend submission points on that is coming down the pike. So I want to encourage you to try to get as many as you can, because trust me, when these other things start coming online, you're going to spend them fast, and because the whole economy is designed for the whole system, and it's kind of like there's money, but the only thing that you can buy are bazooka bubblegum packs, and that's it. Nothing else exists for you to buy. So yeah, there's money everywhere, but the minute all these other products come out, suddenly your money gets thinner. So so please be aware of that. I've been working on a lot of sort of bigger deal items for Twin Galaxies. I can't announce what they are yet, because like anything, until I have it totally cemented, I don't want to make promises that can't be kept. But everything looks good, and it's not rocket science, the stuff that I'm not telling you. These are things that you have thought in your head, well, why doesn't Twin Galaxies do this? Well, why wouldn't Twin Galaxies do that? God, it would seem so natural for Twin Galaxy to do this. Why don't they do that? All of those obvious things are obvious, okay? So, and some of those things that are obvious are kind of big. Things like world championships and specialized tournaments and all that stuff, fun things, of course. But then there's some things that you may not have thought of that could be really cool, and there are those things too. So please, it's been like 30 days or so since we turned on adjudication. In watching the statistics of what's happening behind the scenes of the adjudication, it's been quite successful in what it's doing. Let me stop talking for a second and just look at the chat. I don't need pants for the victory dance. Someone spotted Jen. And Data God is talking about naked player trading cards as one of the obvious features. Alrighty then. No need to pay attention to the chat anymore. Okay. So what other things that I want to touch on? Touched on uploads. I touched on the value of submission points. Don't underestimate it. Do not. The sort of on the short term, the things that I'm trying to get online and functioning quickly are one is the ability to, in your submission, insert a Twitch stream that you made and have our system pull it straight down and put it into the archive automatically so that you don't have to download it. That's being worked on, and in fact, Twitch is helping us to do that. So, because they're excited about what Twin Galaxies is doing. So there's stuff like that. New tracks, how the system of adding new tracks and platforms and how that's going to work. And because obviously the best way for Twin Galaxies to keep up with all the games that people want tracked, all the new games, even older games, other platforms, is for the community to be able to add tracks under a controlled system, which will of course use things like submission points to facilitate. And I talked a little bit about a bounty system, as I think could be really, really fun for players to be able to bounty things inside of Twin Galaxies. If they want to put up, I want to put up 100 submission points. If anybody can beat that guy's score, that's fine, right? And then there's a submission point transfer system and all that other stuff. So that's fun, but really there's these tracks, the track addition system, and then also I want to add mobile platforms, iOS and Android, to our system so that people who want to set records on these mobile games can clearly, the adjudication system can work for that. When you look at Game Boy Advance submissions or Game Boy Color, you can see how it's going to be done, how it will make sense. And when that opens up, it's going to open Twin Galaxies up to a wider audience of score chasers. And it's going to be really interesting. I don't know, if you go onto like YouTube and you look at things like Flappy Bird world record or something like that, you watch it and you'll see it's got hundreds of thousands of views. People are interested in that, but you don't know if it was cheated. You don't know if it was faked. There's no way to know that. Clearly, a video that moves through the system, through the Twin Galaxy system, you'll know was legit. So we want to do that because that's going to bring in other game players, other experts in other kinds of fields for it. So Don Atreides says pay to win will be an issue for mobile. No, because here's the thing. The mobile tracks that we'll start off by adding, probably some of the top mobile games that people like to play today, whatever, 30, 40, 50 of them. And those will all be score related or clear delineations of how you win in mobile. It won't be anything complex. The equivalent of, chasing a Pac-Man score or what have you. So, and then from there, you allow the community to start adding tracks properly and deciding what's gonna be in that. Okay. So we add the mobile stuff. We add a system where the community can start to add the tracks that they want. And then let's talk about the speed demo issue. Okay? Now, I have read everything everybody has to say, and I've had a lot of private conversations with people on the site about glitch running, no glitch running, all of that stuff. And clearly some kind of decision is going to have to be made relating to how Twin Galaxies wants to deal with speed running. There's a few things that I'll say about it. Number one, speed running is very interesting to a lot of game players out there. That's just undeniable. It also has evolved and created its own sort of set of rules outside of Twin Galaxies, and it's been growing, and when they do their broadcast, there's lots of viewers and all that stuff. That's just something that is just factual and has to be acknowledged. You can't put blinders on and say, no. That being said, there's also a lot of disorganization inside of that and dilution. So we're going to sit down here and ultimately come to some kind of decision as to how we recognize speed running, how things like glitches are viewed in terms of speed running, and we want to create a place where speed running makes sense, can be appreciated, can a conduit for speed runners to make it into the Guinness Book of World Records, because right now there isn't really a good one, and Twin Galaxies is that conduit, and there's a whole community there that I think is relevant and part of the overarching player achievement mentality. And frankly, it's fun to watch some of these speed runs. It's just a fun, entertaining thing to watch someone do something. You're like, wow, that was amazing. So a decision will be forthcoming on that very soon. And that, of course, will affect how, tracks adding and all this other stuff. So you can see these mobile track adding, the speed demo stuff, all are interlinked to the fact that it's going to require track modification and all this other stuff. All right, now I'm going to read the chat for a second. Stop talking. Who will be the first jerk to sell their submission points for real money? Yeah, that'd be interesting. Any percentage of speed running is by far the most entertaining to watch. TG was tracking speed runs before the glitches started being used in runs. In general, I agree, but any percentage of runs are super reset heavy. I think why this glitch runs were added to TG. This is crazy flash glitch. Okay, so you guys are all talking about glitch running. Okay, so anyway, that's a hot issue, and we're going to make a decision, and we're going to bring a little bit of order to it, and at the same time, I want to, have Twin Galaxies recognize you've got some really great, talented players doing things in speedruns, creatively, thinking of things. Even if you look at a glitch, some of these glitches, I mean, just executing it can be. Now some glitches are ridiculous. You do a glitch, the game is over. It can drive a game's value down, accomplishing if the glitch is bad enough. But in the research that I've done is essentially what happens is those games don't get any real traction with the speed demo community when the glitch is just, hey, I started level 1, oh, there's the end. There's no. So please know that a lot of thought is going into addressing that, and we're going to have a decision soon on the whole entire matter, and it will be good, and we'll all be together, and it'll be fantastic. Okay, so speed demo, mobile, track adding, a little bit about the bounty stuff. Is there any other sort of more like hyper immediate things? There's a lot of small features. You'll notice that our team is in there looking at the threads, trying to fix things in the database as they crop up. And there's sort of this active work. So let's talk about, I saw Settle on the screen, they were talking about this a little bit. The cheating situation. Let us talk about that. Mike Sroka, I see you. If you unmute yourself, I can hear you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, anybody else wants to Skype in and start to weigh in on this whole issue, let's talk about the MK Wizard situation. I have a lot of feelings about this because, okay, number one, I'm really proud of the community in terms of its ability to identify this level of shenanigans. I mean, that is no joke. When you look at what was submitted, a lot of referees might have watched that and just said, okay, there wasn't anything particularly sticking out about it, right? Except for the fact that it was incredibly amazing, right? So
yeah, it's an editor's dream almost.
Yeah, right. Like so okay. So I obviously I can't vote and I can't adjudicate, but I'm watching the thread and the thread's like, great run, great run, great run, and then someone comes in and goes, yeah, there's an issue here, and so I was like, whoa, how is this going to play out, right? and the community is like, well, wait a minute, wow, this guy's made some really good points, and then, I mean, when you look at the view count on that thread, it's like 28,000 views, which means like the whole speed demo community started looking at this thing and discussing it and all this other stuff. And so what I really liked about it was one of the theoretical criticisms that have been made about the new Twin Galaxies adjudication system. This was a criticism that was made before the system came online, was, well, if you don't have referees that are experts, then all you're going to have is a bunch of people, a bunch of friends voting each other into world records. And you're not going to have true expertise looking at these performances. And I always held to the fact that no, not only will you have historical referees who enjoy watching performances still look at these things on their own, but you're also going to have everybody else who has a stake in that particular game, in that particular record, looking at it. And there's a lot of expertise there, expertise that maybe Twin Galaxies didn't have. And because it only had so many volunteer refs who had only so much time and all this other stuff, right? You can't expect a single person to know everything. It can't. So it's no fault on the refs. But when this thread hit and I saw the sheer amount of expertise that was brought into it from places, people registered at Twin Galaxies, verified themselves, and got into the thread specifically to bring their expertise to the matter at hand. And so I was like, wow. And you watch the statistical analysis of everything, and I didn't, based on the conversation, I was like, I don't think it's gonna pass. I think it's gonna get rejected. When it became crystal clear, now, my viewpoint was, if this gets rejected on the basis of it being a cheated submission, a clearly deliberate attempt to cheat the system, then Twin Galaxies itself has to take some kind of action there. So my interpretation of the thread as I read everything was, this score got rejected because it was identified as a clear attempt at cheating the system. And then the guy, so what I said was, okay, wait a minute. The guy hasn't said anything. Let me jump in there and just simply say, because getting banned for life from Twin Galaxies maybe wasn't such a big deal in the past. Who cares? Those bunch of classic arcaders or blah, blah, blah. But it's gonna hurt really, really bad now, because there is so much coming. It's like people don't even know what they're going to miss out on. I know, but they don't know. And I know, so it's like, oh, I got banned, boo-hoo. But I'm like, no, you don't understand. All the Santa Claus is coming, and then this is coming, and you're not going to get to participate in all that. And so part of me feels like for this person, okay, let me at least provide an avenue here for them to sort of take a step back. And that's when I jumped into the thread and I said, okay, look, if this person admits to cheating and sincerely apologizes and explains how they tried to cheat, revealed all of their skullduggery, and posts that, then I, as rule enforcement, can find a way to make a ban for 6 months, do some negative submission points, make the person, because the ban and the submission points, those are all functional things. They still have to win back the trust of everybody who's adjudicating, because it doesn't matter if they can submit a score, everybody is going to be doubting that score. They're going to be like, dude, you cheated. I don't even believe this. I don't even care if Alex Trebek is standing next to you and it's Jeopardy. So that's just a lot of. You know what I mean? Like Mike, you see what I'm saying? Like, even if I did nothing, that person has a lot of work to do to convince everybody that his stuff isn't a bunch of crap, right?
Yeah, that's right. And what I love about it is all the doubts that we had before it was released, I believe all those doubts are gone now, because now there's a true example of how the system will work in harmony.
Right. And now, so then the other thing is, what I did was, I'm like, okay, let me post this up. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to examine every other record that this guy in our system. And one of the things that I noticed was all of his records were significant. They were like number one, and they were significantly better than number two. Like, if you looked at them, I can't remember which specific ones, but if it was, some game in the world record he had was 10 seconds, you'd look at number two, and it would be like 18 seconds. You know, you're like, and then number 3 would be like 17 seconds, or whatever, 19 seconds. They'd be really close, but his scores were always out. So I was like, look, I don't know. I wasn't there. That was already in the database. I didn't touch it. But am I seeing a trend here? I don't know. So then I go back to the thread and I see that MK Wizard has posted a response. I cheated, but here are my reasons, and you guys kind of suck, and and so then I watched as the community addressed everything MK Wizard would say, and then I would watch MK Wizard sort of go through all the typical machinations of, oh well, I don't really care, and then moved to, well, I was just trying to test the system. I was just testing it. That's all like the whole 9 yards, and then eventually gravitate back to screw you guys. That whole thing. Now, look, I'm trying to. I get that. I've seen all the comments off with his head. It's very easy to take that position and say, dude, screw you, get out. But I'm trying to take a human approach to this whole matter, because he's going to be missing out on a lot of really cool future things. Like, banning him for life without any chance of coming back is going to hurt if he has even the smallest care about high scores. And I have to tell you, no matter what he says about, I don't care, screw you guys, this is dumb, I'm not going to play, a dude who created a video that was so well constructed for the sole purpose of getting that Tyson thing, and that's someone who cares about score chasing. They do. You wouldn't even bother trying to cheat if you didn't care, right? Like, it's so, okay. So then I watched the thread continue, and it just degrades into eventually him posting pictures of himself, I assume. I don't know if that's really him, and him saying he doesn't care or whatever. So I saw yesterday, I was very busy yesterday, but I saw the score finally adjudicated, and the score was rejected. So what I'm going to have to do over the next day or two is figure out what that punishment is. Obviously, all those scores are coming out of the database. That's out. His scores are out of the database. Out. I'll keep going. And now the question is, does Twin Galaxies take a position, you were caught cheating, you can never come back for the rest of time? Or does Twin Galaxy, now there's a lot of people who want to see that, and I agree, there is a logic to making an example of someone who tries to do this. At the same time, I'm also just trying to look at it, even people who murder other people get a sentence that can come to an end. 20 years and then you're out or whatever. So I have to really think about, with the team here, what the right move is in terms of producing a punishment that is meaningful, and do you allow the remote possibility for some kind of return in the distant future? These, because as it currently stands, the name Michael Girard will not appear in the Twin Galaxies database with any records, and that means it will not appear in Guinness. That's it. So, it's when you see some of the other things that's coming, not being able to participate in, say, I don't know, the theoretical Twin Galaxies World Championships that'll be held at all that stuff, like a lot of fun. It's gonna hurt, man. So, I'm thinking about it and considering all the wishes that the community currently has. I agree this is deadly serious, but also at the same time, do you people make mistakes in judgment. People don't fully understand all that they do. Apparently, from what I have read, people have claimed that there's a history of him doing this sort of thing with other, previous versions of Twin Galaxies, stuff in the speed demo community. He's done this and blah, blah, blah. But really, this system is the one that not only caught him, but it permanently has embedded the permanent record. It can't be erased. It's there for the internet for all time. That dude did this. All the other systems didn't catch that. So, and make it permanent, right? So that's kind of a harsh thing already in just knowing that, so we'll see. We're giving him the Pete Rose band. So anyway, certainly I'm interested in, people have questions about this or serious comments about it. But don't try to cheat this system. Just don't do it, man. There's no reason to. If you don't want to participate, just don't. Everybody else is damn serious. I'm telling you right now, all that vision that people had of people colluding and trying to just help each other and all that's out. By all statistical data, nobody's doing that in any meaningful form. If there are 3 guys try to do it or 4, 5, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even move the needle, right? Enough people try to do it, it blips up on the system, and it's just like ban, 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 ban. So everybody's really just building up their credibility, building up their submission points, and taking it really seriously, which is what should be happening at Twin Galaxies. You can leave all the tomfoolery to the other sites. Let them do whatever it is that they want to do. But this community is growing. You're probably seeing names that you have never seen before posting and adjudicating and submitting. That's a good sign. That's growth in Twin Galaxies, and you're going to see more of that. But I'm excited to bring some of these other systems online that'll help make it fun and even more interesting. And we're really working towards a much bigger. This is what I'll tell you. Submit your game performances, no matter how crappy they might be. Get them in the system. You will be accruing value in the future from your submissions in ways that will really matter to you in the real world. Trust me on this. Just trust me on this. You don't have to be number 1. You don't have to be number 10. You could be number 500, but submit and get in there. Get ranked. We'll eventually, here, one small hint I can give you is we're going to eventually have a player athletic index. We'll be able to index you based on all of your various submissions and create an aggregate game score of just you as a video game player. So you can then start to compare your overall skill set against other players, even if they don't play the same game as you, but across genres. And then you can get into all these really cool fantasy football, baseball type scenarios where what if Mike Soroka faced off against Glenn Updike in a brand new game that neither one of them have played, based on their athletic indexes, who's most likely to win. And then there's a lot of cool things, and it eventually migrates into things like the annual Twin Galaxies Player Achievement Award system, which is kind of like the Oscars, right? I talked about this a little bit before, where you win the Golden Walter Day and all that, but when you say, Data God has an athletic index of 718, everybody will go, oh my God, that's amazing. And it's not a function of the fact that he's played a whole lot of games. It's a function of just where his overall total ranking is relative to anyway. Submit your performances. Just get into the database. There are future features coming that's going to crawl this sucker, and it's going to produce a lot of cool value for you. Twin Galaxies is going to be able to convert your video game playing time that you do anyway into real world value that you can actually use in the real world for things. And it's not going to cost you anything to do it, and you're playing anyway. So just submit and adjudicate. There's a lot of thought going into this. Trust me, I promise you. That's why I'm here 17 hours a day, working 7 days a week. getting all of this stuff lined up. And also, when the mobile stuff gets activated, you're going to see a large influx of users. Different kind of users, right? Because they're all playing Flappy Birds or Candy Crush or whatever. And but that's going to affect the economy of the whole system and your credibility. All the early starters, all you guys who've been participating like right from the beginning are going to benefit from the fact that you have been doing stuff in the beginning. Yes, sir. Yes, look at that. I see. Is that Nimbus? So, does anybody have any general questions at all about anything, Twin Galaxies or what have you? I'm happy to answer. I have some big announcements coming up that is going to floor you. You're going to be like, no way! I promise, because even I'm like, no way, and I'm the one doing it. But it's really, really cool, and everybody's going to want to participate in it. So,
hey Jace, real quick. I guess I got a question.
yes, sir.
We kind of talked about it on our previous show. And I know you talked about it a few weeks ago. For like multiplayer scores, is there something you're recommending for people who want to submit 2-player, 3-player scores for the old database?
Well,
are you suggesting the weight or?
We are, see, the issue right now is it's hard to set up like, it's not as intuitive as it should be for teams to set up an account and then submit as a team. Right now, you basically have to create a new account kind of as one user, and you guys share the password, and then that user goes into the database as the team. It's on our feature list to just make that a little more intuitive and easier to do so that teams can, like Mario Brothers teams or you know, Gauntlet teams or whatever, can sign up and have it work inside the database. There's just a lot of challenges because our system's automated. It's not like no human being touches the database and puts things in and out of it. I can't, like, I personally, it's not like the old days where you could just like pull up the database and go, oh, I'm gonna put some stuff into it. It doesn't work that way anymore. I wanna have, and this is stuff that Guinness has reviewed and all this other stuff, is there's this abstraction that even prevents me, like in order for me to get changes made, there's a whole process I have to go through for it to make changes. And so that affects implementing features like teams into the database under the new system and all that. So it's on the list. We're working on it. It will take some time to get it functioning the way that it should naturally be. But that's why it's taking time, because there's no refs able to enter scores. It just doesn't work that way.
So it's all on you, basically.
It doesn't, like, it's like when I see these adjudications, you know, I don't know who's going to win. I'm like you guys. I mean, in order for me to really know, I have to go into the back end, run a whole statistical analysis, try to figure out, when you look at this mass of data, oh, it looks like it's trending. It's like looking at the stock market analysis. It's like this, so I don't even bother. Who has time for that? I just let it, you know, adjudicate, and then at the end, like everybody, oh, look, that made it in. Oh, no, that didn't. And I think that's great. You know, it's a very pristine, unfettered system that will gain more and more credibility with people as they see it sort of meet challenges like the MK Wizard thing, or so I'm excited, and clearly now that everybody's using it, they can understand how it could handle thousands of submissions a month. It could handle that, whereas Twin Galaxies before just couldn't handle that. It's too much. It's too much for any small group of people. Does anybody in the text chat? Oh, Jace, there's a flaw in the database. My name appears twice. One for my old records and one for my new record. Yes, that is because your name has a differentiate. There's something different about those two names. There's like a capital letter that's different, a space, a period, or whatever. What you have to do is email Franny at twingalaxies.com, and then she can work with our engineers, who then have to merge those names together so that it's all under one name. So We fix those on a case-by-case basis, but you have to email Franny at twingalaxies.com to start that process, and then we'll fix them. How would TG weight how competitive or difficult a score actually is in that rating? Are you talking about the athletic index? How would TG weight how competitive in the is that the question? Wolfman or Wes Copeland, Don Atreides? Are you talking about the athletic index? If you are, tell me yes. I have to wait 15 seconds to see your response. Does anybody else? Yes, that's what he means. Okay. The best way I can describe it is, let's say you play a game in the platform, the 2D side-scrolling platform category in general, whether it's a Sonic or a Mario or you name it. Those games are grouped in that general category, and then you will accumulate X number of rankings inside that category. Maybe you're number 500 in Sonic, maybe you're number 23 in Mario, whatever it is, but it will produce an average within that genre, and then of course that gets averaged with what other performances you've had in other genres, and all of this is weighted against everybody else's, so you get this relative index. It's like a relative total index, and everybody's being measured by the same exact system. So it really doesn't matter how hard you rate one game versus another, because everybody is unilaterally weighed against the same set of criteria, and it will produce this sort of flat system that you'll at least have some sense of how good you are as an overall video game player versus someone else. And to me, obviously, it's something that will evolve and have to be tweaked and figured out, but the basic intent behind that is that. We also have a whole wiki system that's built into the Twin Galaxies site that we have turned off. And the idea there is that we're going to build a player wiki, and that the community, once you reach a certain level of credibility, you'll be able to have your own wiki, and players can add to it and verify and all that stuff. And so there's a built-in player wiki, so you can profile players, see what they've accomplished, they can talk about themselves, you can see all their, and that's already built in, it's just turned off because we haven't reached that point where it's time for that to be activated. But we did all that work. See ya, Data God. Does anybody else have any other questions? I am trying my best to keep everybody informed.
Jace, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, right on. I have a question about just the general situation that's going on in the Twin Galaxies standard scheduling. I've been noticing that
Wait, are you talking about Twin Galaxies Live?
Yes.
Yeah, we are only talking about twingalaxies.com here, really.
Okay. Another
Not to
time.
lie, but I can try to answer your question. Like, what's the general?
Right. It was just about what's going to be happening with the Draenor show, and I've noticed the schedules have been changed with a lot of gaps in them, and I didn't get the memo, so I just was curious what was going on or what was happening, and I just don't know what's happening.
Well, there's two things that are happening. One is we're trying to concentrate our efforts on larger event broadcasts. So that, like when we did the Hearthstone show the other day, it was a big production, and so it's like we can spread our resources thinner and produce lower grade programming across the week, or we can concentrate it at certain points during the week, which then makes it thinner in between those moments, but when those bigger moments hit, they're bigger.
So are we canceling those?
No, I don't. I mean, you have to talk to Jen how she's doing it. I don't know. I haven't heard the word cancel for anything. So, but Jen would know.
Except on the screen.
Jen would know the answer for that. But the other thing is we have some new technology that we're going to be switching to for our broadcast. That's basically ultimately super amazing. And so we're not doing a lot of changes until we switch over to that new broadcast technology,
Okay.
and you will find it to be amazing. It's all totally proprietary and was built here and all this other stuff.
All right. Well, I'll see you in March, man. I'm moving in then.
All right.
See you there.
Who else has questions? Does anybody else? Otherwise, I will sign out and let everybody do magical things.
I just got a comment, Jace. I guess more or less. I mean, I don't see this so much visual on the boards, but I know everybody means that. I know you don't want any allocates for this stuff, but I think by you doing this every so often, this broadcast really makes it an enjoyable factor for the growth of what TG will be. It's great that you come out and tell us all this stuff in person. I know everybody appreciates it. I do, at least. So.
Well,
thank
you for telling me that. My goal is to try to do it every week. Sometimes I get so overloaded I can't do it. But I'm not going to let 2 weeks go in a row where I'm not informing everybody what we're trying to do, because I don't view this as me by myself just sort of forcing Twin Galaxies into things. I mean, you just look at that MK Wizard thread. That's the community in action. So it is a group effort to move Twin Galaxies into. I honestly believe that Twin Galaxies can umbrella the entire concept of esports, and all things fall underneath it, whether it's League of Legends or anything like that, conceptually from a mass consumer perspective. I think Twin Galaxies is the one that can explain to people why achievement in video games, any video game, is important. Why, how rarefied the air is for some of the achievements that go on here. I may have said this before, but I always say more people have gone around the moon in a space capsule than have played a perfect Pac-Man game. And when you tell that to someone who's not into video games, they at least immediately appreciate how hard it must be to do a perfect Pac-Man game. That's just like, they're like, what? That's crazy. So Twin Galaxies' job is to be that interface. It's to recognize anybody who's achieving in that space, and even better, if it can recognize it and then translate it into value for that player in real terms. And an extreme example would be anybody who's holding the #1 spot position in these 100 selected games. If you have a #1 spot in any one of them, you're going to get 90% off at Walmart as long as you hold that one position, right? Imagine that. Imagine that. Why would Walmart agree to that? Well, it's easy, because there's only 100 games, so there's only 100 people who could ever have that discount. But imagine that, and then gradiate down from there. #2 position is 85% off. #5, is 30%. It's like a huge drop off. There's all this cool opportunity when you convert achievement into practical value and recognition in society. And it's a way for video game players who are achieving is to basically cash in on their celebrity. Much like how a pro basketball player, like everybody recognizes them, so they walk in and they're like, oh, here, have the best table, or here, this is on the house. If you're #1 in Donkey Kong, they don't know that, but that shit's hard to do.
They don't?
So no, they don't. So imagine if you had a Twin Galaxies club card or something, right? So you go in and you slide it through like where the Visa goes, and it checks the Twin Galaxies database. You're the #1 Donkey Kong player, and it automatically, because the deal's been worked out with Ruth's Chris, you get 90% off. They'll be like, wow, you got 90% off. Yeah, that's right, I'm the #1 friggin' Donkey Kong player, bitches. Or whatever, I'm the #1 Flappy Birds player. It doesn't matter. But there is a clear way to recognize, have it in Guinness, have the certificates, have the trophies, have the award shows, and also have actual value being accrued out in the mass world too. So we're working on all those things, and there's a really big announcement we have coming that I think you guys are just going to be like, what? So
about Flappy Birds, it's been taken off on App Store. It been taken off already.
What has?
Flappy Bird, it's
Flappy
been taken
Bird.
off on, yeah. It's not there or anywhere.
Look, I'm just simply saying, submit your scores, whether they're number one or not. Get your credibility up, get your submission points up. You're going to need it, you're going to want it. The stuff we're rolling out over the course of time it's all going to be good, and it's all going to make it more worth your while, aside from the fact that you're just playing games and having fun anyway. You're doing it anyway. That's it. I can't, F. Sybils, I can't just give you the announcement. I can only tell you that it's awesome. It's just awesome. And you're going to be like, what? No way. And then, because that's how I was when it came together. What? So, there you go. I would suggest putting a dollar amount cap on that Walmart discount. No, you don't have to. Don't have to. When you do the math, what Walmart would get publicity-wise, what all these places would get publicity-wise for making the number one person get, it's like you win, it's just like you win a golf tournament, you get all these endorsements, you get all these contracts. It's the same thing. There's no difference. It's just we have a way of actually systemically producing that. And so it all starts, of course, with the players and people submitting and us adjudicating and just the whole system up and running. And so keep submitting, keep doing what you do. We're working hard to add the features that are needed, clean up the areas of the database that need to be cleaned up. And the other thing, last thing I want to say is, we have not yet implemented the system that will allow you to raise an issue with a questionable score that's in the database. So this is an interesting thing that you have to keep in mind. If somebody successfully cheats the system, for now, it still sits there. And a whole nother system is going to come into play that can always question a score out of the database. Now, it'll be a lot harder to remove a score, much harder than, it's already hard to get a score in. It'll be really hard to get a score out, but it will be possible to do it. And that is how there's a balanced system to catch anything that somehow fools everybody, but then later there's a discovery made. Later, 5 years from now, there's a discovery made that adjudication record, because all the data is still there, is false. Great. There's a whole system that's going to scoop it out and get rid of it, and then we can retroactively ban that user and remove all their scores from 5 years backwards.
So they have to get rid of it?
That's right.
Ah.
So you run a huge risk cheating, because it sits there forever, and there will be a system designed to carve it out. And if you are caught as a cheating, all your scores get removed from that point back.
You could lose your discount at Walmart.
That's right.
Yes.
So I'm just simply telling you, don't do it. There's a permanent record now. You can't escape it. It'll come back and get you at some point. Someone will figure it out. It sits there forever.
You kidding?
I got 30 seconds before I'm kicked off the broadcast. They're all yelling at me around here. I'm talking too much.
It's okay though.
MAME update, please. That will, yes, I know. Will increase submissions. We're working on the TG client. There's an alpha I have to check out of the thing. It'll be all fantastic. I have 10 seconds, and so
10, 9, 8.
let's see. No, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to be out of here.